Good day and good evening, and welcome back to Roulette Live with me, Caetsu Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. So tonight, as usual, we're doing some roulettes. The target is about 10, but we're definitely going for like 3 hours or so. So I was thinking, because what often happens on these streams is that we get enough duties that I'm like, I'm almost getting one duty on every job, but that usually comes as a result of many of the jobs basically just going, oh, guild test, 30 seconds and over, which is not super interesting. Like, on the one hand, it means that if someone is like, oh man, he got this job that I don't think is interesting, and then they're like, oh, but he's only that job for 30 seconds. Like, on the one hand, that's nice for them, but on the other hand, when I then draw like a job that they're like, ah, finally he's playing the job that I want to see, and then it's another guild test. So the way that I'm going to do it is, it's either going to be that we keep going until we don't get a guild test, or I think I might try that first, but I'm also toying with the idea of doing like 3 relevant quote-unquote duties before I move on to the next job. And by relevant, it would of course be not guild tests. And if something else came up that is like, I don't know what it would be, but something where like nothing happens, that could also qualify as not relevant. But it's mainly intended to be, you know, guild tests. The problem is, of course, that you could quickly run into a situation where it's like, okay, so this is guild test number 10, and we just keep going. Sure it is, Nox, but I am, of course, an entertainer. But I think that's what we're going to do, is tonight we're going to try, we don't roll a new job until we get something that isn't a guild test. And aside from that, we will, you know, aim for about 10 duties and or about 3 hours. That said, hey Aerodel, hey Taldemar, hey Ross, hey Zav, hey Saros, hey Matthew, hey Naomi, hey Vince, hey Gazel, hey Nox, hey Sally, hey Agent Monica, hey Zanotto, hey Toppy, hey Ilya, hey Afi, hey Bob, hey Falsegeek, hey Fila, hey Freelon, hey Milo, and hey Kiwi. Hope you're all doing very well. Right then. Say Gleaming, hope you're doing well. I am also, by the way, testing something with the off-stream sets in a similar way. But that'll still be a bit before you see it, I suppose. I'll say Fern, hope you're doing well. And our first job will be Gunbreaker? Gunbreaker. Thank you for celebrating 22 months as part of the Cult of the Pink, Matthew. Thank you so much for the support. Says the roulette wheel appears broken while there are other jobs than astrologian on it. I will queue when it says... I will queue when it says 35. I don't know, Matthew. Apparently there are more jobs. For instance, I got Mom Extreme on Mental Roulette. What? That is crazy. I mean, it could have been Wheel of Job. I just realized I forgot something really important. Pharos Serious Hard. Has a guy gotten any Endwalker extremes yet? Nope. I'm pretty sure from memory that I have never gotten an extreme, like not counting Rathalos, I have not gotten an extreme after Heavensward. I'm pretty sure. Oh right, Susano has happened a few times, that's true. I guess I haven't really counted that one. Not because Susano isn't from there, but rather because, I mean, Susano's not particularly hard. Not even on extreme. Do people queue for extremes after Heavensward without Party Finder? Sometimes, I guess. I'll say Bronzom. Hope you're doing well. So this fight is actually, it's really easy. It's just, it's not very clear. What you're supposed to do is when you get one of those beams, you're supposed to just pass it to something by running next to it. You have to pass it by standing next to it. And if you don't, then the enemy becomes a person, essentially, and they are a lot stronger than all the other creatures. Basically like that. Heyo, hope you're doing well. What do you mean? Why does Mentor Roulette at all? What do you mean? Are you saying why do Mentor Roulette? Very nice. Almost very nice. Was I really in? Hope you're doing well. And that is concerning. I mean, for the most part, people don't really queue for extremes after a certain point because, I mean, if you've tried, you'll eventually realize that it's not going to work. Like, people are not going to queue for it, so your queue is going to take forever. And if you actually find, like, if you think mentors are likely to scoot when they see like a Realm Reborn extreme, I can assure you that they're gone if they see something like an Endwalker extreme. Why does Mentor Roulette have extremes at all? That is a great question, and I cannot answer it for you. But, like, there's no explanation. Why do they have them when, like, why do they not have Savage? Sometimes the argument presented is like, oh, well, you see, over on JP, they do extremes, in queue, but when you actually look a little closer, I believe the story is that people mainly do hard content in queue for reclears of farming. They don't do it for progging. So, like, that argument doesn't work necessarily. I'm not sure. I will say, like, the A Realm Reborn and some of the Heavensward extremes are easy enough that, like, it kinda works. But it does kind of get problematic with some of the later ones. Sayuritsu, hope you're doing well. But yeah, I couldn't possibly explain why the mentor roulettes have extremes. Yeah, extremes aren't much harder than current normal content. It's a little complicated because sometimes the A Realm Reborn extreme has like one mechanic that if you don't do it right, it's a wipe. Sometimes that is more than that. And when that's the case, I would argue that they're harder than current normal difficulty content. Just because it's more like in the current normal difficulty content, you can just like, it doesn't really matter. So it kind of depends. And yeah, that makes sense, Gazel, but that's also a dangerous precedent to set, isn't it? Because, like, imagine a JP player going, oh, but I sometimes see like, EU players queue for extremes. For prog reasons. You know what I mean? They might not be the norm. And yeah, Titan Extreme is one of those where, like, there isn't that much to say. It's like, well, it kind of, like, really requires that a lot, like, that very specific things go wrong for it to become a problem in the first place. And even so... Ah, right. That's why I keep getting stunned. I'm now over here like, he's almost dead. We can ignore it, right? Hey, Nimrio. Hope you're doing well. And also, hey, Mr. Bright. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, that's the thing, is that sometimes you'll have a group that it's no issue to deal with an extreme. Other times you'll have a group where it's like, they would probably have trouble with the hard or normal version. So why are we here? And I've talked about this before. The thing that makes extremes in like mentor roulette contexts the scariest is mainly that context that who's queuing for extremes. Aside from the ones doing it for the memes, it's usually players that don't even realize that there is a little bit of like, I would almost call it like a gentleman's agreement that you don't queue for extremes. Which means, I don't care. You do what you want. I'll try my best. But it means that there's a much lower probability that the players that you're going to find queuing for extremes are going to be below average in skill. Oh. I believe there's something about intercepting this. There's actually quite a lot going on in this room. A Hildebrand agreement, indeed. But because of that agreement, even if like old extremes are pretty manageable, it doesn't really matter when the probability that the players you're going to get paired up with don't actually know a lot of basic mechanics is higher. If they accidentally queued for extreme instead of hard? Maybe? Hey Toby, hope you're doing well. And I don't actually know on that, Nimrio. There's a lot of chaos happening in that specific bit. Maybe they want men's Roulette people to actually have beaten some extremes, at least from last expansion. That's also possible. And the easiest way to justify requiring it is by putting the possibility that you could land in it there, right? Otherwise, people would be like, why do we have to do it when it isn't in the requirements? That doesn't make any sense. Possibly, Gazel. Who knows? It is really hard to say on these things, just in general. Yeah, on my end, like as I said, I don't mind people queuing for extremes and such either. The only thing that I'm like asking for when people do is, right, so have you done your homework? Like, I'm not saying you have to have watched a guide. Like, sometimes I would say, like, you know, once you reach some of the later extremes, it starts to reach a point where it's like, look, Sephiroth Extreme is probably not your first rodeo in this. I can't possibly imagine that it would be. I just can't. So, are you sure that you know enough to not watch a guide or anything? But even so, I would still take it if the player has demonstrated like general skill to the point where it's pretty clear that like they know how to play, but it like, let's just say that the amount of times that I have seen a really close equivalent to a cure bot, quote unquote, in a Heavensward Extreme is too high. And you might say, well, how many is that? It's more than 10%, which I feel like is too high. You know what I mean? Right. I don't see. The thing is, though, it depends a lot. And as someone who has done a lot of extremes, I would say there's only a certain percentage of players with the chops to do an extreme off rip without having watched a guide. Which is to say, when I meet someone that says guides are only necessary at Savage and above, my first thought is, how many extremes have you done? Synced. That's the first thing I think when I hear someone say that. Exactly, not a lot synced. So that's what I'm saying is you should probably, you know, build a little bit on that. As Taldemar says, it took us like 5 hours to blind proc the new Extreme 5. Was that with a pre-made, Taldemar? I assume that was with a static. Yes. Now imagine, guys. Imagine you have 1 hour. Double tank. Imagine you have 1 hour, and if you don't make it, your entire team is going to be new players, different players, and you might have to sit in queue for 30 plus minutes again. That's why you might need to watch a guide if you're going to queue for an extreme. That's why. Jose Rash, hope you're doing well. And same to you, Scooter Loose. Rash, did you hear what else Taldemar said? Like, Rash, actually read what Taldemar said. It took us like 5 hours to blind prog the new EX5. If you don't watch a guide, that's essentially blind prog. And I don't think an hour and a half is average. And you have a very high expectation for a current extreme, for instance. Hey, Ilana and Necrofits, hope you're doing well. And basically, here's a funny thing that I've noticed, is that the higher skill you have, and pay attention to this one, Rash, because this one goes out to you. The higher skill you have, the more likely you're going to find yourself in groups of equal skill. The same goes in the other direction. Which is to say, that is one of the explanations as to how you can have one player say that, oh yeah, you can clear this thing like 2 hours max on average. That's what I see in all my groups and all my friends say. Yeah, but who are your friends? Savage Raiders. Meanwhile, someone else will say, now that extreme is impossible, I can't even do it. I can't even do it. But who are their, who's their friends? Might all be casuals. They might get kicked from the groups that are beating it in 2 hours. Oh, I might be misunderstanding what Rash said then. Sorry about that, Rash. My bad. I have met people that are like that. That's why I sort of assumed. But yeah, that is exactly the reason why I say, if you're going to queue for something, like, for instance, an old extreme. Like, for instance, an Around the Board extreme. Granted, all of those Around the Board extremes can be beaten in the hour, probably blind, for the most part. But only if everyone has the chops to figure it out. Because something like Ramu Extreme can be nearly impossible even if 7 out of the 8 players have the chops to figure it out. If player 8 does not. depends on who player 8 is, of course. But if the player 8 is, for instance, a tank, or to some degree a healer, you might just be screwed. Or you have to kick them. Or player 8 is almost seemingly deliberately preventing the success. Admittedly, if both or one of your healers is a barrier healer, you can actually force your way through with just one tank. But that, like, the fact that the queue, that the duty is 1 hour is the reason why I'm like, watch a guide. And also because... And again, I'm not trying, like, as I said, I'm not saying you can't queue for them. I'm specifically saying do your homework if you do. Because you have to assume the 7 other people did. But of course, everyone has their first time. They might not know that it is that hard. Everyone has their first time. But it would surprise me greatly if your first time with extremes was like Sephiroth Extreme. And I have done Sephiroth Extreme with both healers being Curebots. And a lot of the time, like surprisingly frequently, my Remove Extreme extravaganzas involve an Ice Mage and at least one Curebot. So that's my point of reference when I'm like, watch a guide. Because the thing is, if you watch a guide for the fight, you're also more likely to watch a guide for your job. And that might mean you realize that you're playing the job very badly. And also true, Rash, a guide will never be able to replace actual experience. Anyway, I'll queue when it says 30. What's up, folks? Hope you're doing well. Does Odin count as an extreme? To me, no. But to the game, yes. Oh, instant replacement. Where are we going? Oh. Okay.
And with a flourish, Sugar Riot brings her work to life.
What if you're a mentor and still don't know the extremes? That's very simple. If you go far enough back in my catalog of mentor roulette videos, you'll find that there are many of them where I'm like, I've never actually done this extreme synced before. So I asked others in the party what to do while I looked things up. Which means either someone will tell me what I need to do, or I will figure it out while time passes. And like, because I, retain most of the information, I just don't need to look it up again next time. But yeah, you don't have to know all the extremes by heart to queue Mentor Roulette. In fact, and I think I've said this in my Mentor Misconceptions video. Hi, Gyarados. In my Mentor Misconceptions video, that it would be completely absurd to assume that a mentor can remember every single extreme by heart. How many extremes are there in the game?
The rain has become a desert.
And then you remember how many extremes are you likely to meet when you queue Mentor Roulette? Like a fraction of those. So as long as you're willing to learn and put in a solid try, that's fine. In fact, I have seen mentors that like pop into an extreme and they just go, I don't know this fight and I don't think I can do this right now, and they just leave. I mean, on the one hand, at least try. You did sign up for it, right? But at the same time, I respect the honesty. So I'm not going to to get on their case for that. That's just okay, fair. You say you can't, and then you leave. We'll have to see if we can make it work without you then. But you know, sometimes that's just how it's gonna be. You just go, I can't.
Oh, I know.
But that's my suggestion. Matthew says 39. That sounds possible. My thought off the top of my head was like 50 or something. 39 sounds more accurate. But yeah, no, you don't need to know every extreme by heart. Gleaming says, has anyone ever spawned in as a replacement and gotten domed immediately? I mean, last week I was a replacement in Ultimate Weapon Extreme and spawned in and immediately got slapped. I didn't die, but I took a lot of damage.
What's your favorite color?
This Dragoon really wants to get out of my way. This is the second time that he's chased me over to where I wanted to go. But yeah, that's my advice. If you're scared of getting into extremes because you don't know how to do them,
What do you think of this?
just try it. It's like the worst that can happen is that you the worst that can happen is that you wipe. And arguably, I would say probably a lot of Sprouts would rather have a mentor who's willing to try, than you know, no one. Snap says there's 43.
What do you say to
I like the new dungeon, but despite having done some some expert roulettes, I've only done it once. That's true, Skurloos. I just prefer to move to a logical position.
They're back on their feet. Let's see if they can stay standing.
But yeah, as I said, I'm repeating myself, I know. If you want to get into mental roulettes, but you're scared because you don't know the strategy of every single duty in the game, the easiest way to start
This is no good.
is to
It
just
needs a
queue
touch of
anyway.
thunder, a dash of downpour.
Just queue anyway. And then, you know, try. Say Dinky. And Freezy and Zippo. Hope you're doing well.
A thunderstorm has turned the waters muddy.
Just try anyway. Exactly, trial and error. The key thing is to be willing to try. So you go in, like, that's how I do it if I land an extreme I don't know. It's like, I go in and go, I haven't actually done this one sync before. Does anyone else know the strat? And as I do, I start looking it up on my other monitor.
I hope you brought your parasols.
I can just start looking it up immediately. When your co-tank clearly does savage. But yeah, you just go, I haven't done this one before. Does anyone know what I need to do? And you start looking things up and see if you can find the important bullet points of what you need to focus on. And you go for it. It'll also help you greatly with like getting better intuition for boss mechanics. To just have to guess.
What do you think of this?
Like sometimes someone will pull before you finish reading. Hey Catfish Jr., hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty well myself.
I clearly anticipated that attack.
Thank you, madam. Yeah, and anything goes roulette would probably be something a lot of people would want. Or even just a
It's all over.
an extreme roulette. Isn't that new castback great? It's nice. I don't need it that much. But it's nice. Roulette, roulette. Oh, how about you spend some DPS for a change? Nope. Look, at this point, it has to be Paladin next. I'm not even mad. That's amazing. I'm going to queue at 40. Hey Joshua, hope you're doing well. And Mizunashi, hope you're doing well as well. And... Doink. Oh. The Red Master, hope you're doing well. Near the last step where you need the 180 items, is it faster to do the synced normal raids or to do the Boja stuff? 180 items. Usually the Boja stuff is the fastest way to do it. Hey Burgo and Serena, hope you're doing well. Did you just were you in the M6N, Burgo? You were the Dragoon! Ah! I did notice you were, like, we had a little bit of a funny interaction. I was scared of hitting you with my tank busters a lot. Good to see you! That moment where both players are too nice and trying to dodge each other. I was legitimately trying to go to like a predictable spot, and each time it didn't quite work out. Oh right, we have a white mage. Hey Rust, hope you're doing well. What is it you need to do in that step, Red Master? Like, what's the Boja task in my like in question? Is it the one with the Dalriada? Is the skirmishes and critical engagements? Right. In that case, it's a little complicated. And I can't, I will actually say I probably can't give you very good advice on it because I did the entirety of my Shadowbringers Relics grind in Shadowbringers. It might be better to do it with normal raids in that case. You know, Alana, it might come back. I feel like they have a tendency to like come in waves. Ugh. A punch! Sure, why not? I mean, he never claimed to be creative. He does real tough, you're doing well. You could also argue that him choosing the same target 3 times in a row is a sort of creative. Ah, he sidestepped me this time. I'll get him this time. Ah, he sidestepped me again. Oh, well, this time I've got him. No one expects the triple punch. I'm over here like, why are they not moving? And then I remember we have a white mage. Ding! We have arrived! Oh, right. I shouldn't have been using TBN there. Are the difficulty spikes in recent dungeons too random? No. For the most part, I feel like what's happening in the recent dungeons is that the developers aren't particularly concerned about making sure that the dungeons are within a very strict and like very easy difficulty range or something. Which means that sometimes the mechanic is just going to be harder. Sometimes. And other times it's not. But they're trying to be creative with it, which I think is a good thing. And also true, GL. What often happens is that dungeon comes out, it feels really hard. Then as time progresses, most players, at least a large percentage of players, will like go, ah, it's not so bad now that I'm used to it. Some will still find it difficult. But for many, it's fine. There's also the part that, as Scudaloo says, not everyone is at the item level sync. So they'll like keep experiencing it getting easier with more gear. Jose Iridian and Selic, hope you're doing well. But it is really weird sometimes. Like, this is not a very good point of comparison, admittedly. But between Uwewata and Underkeep, Uwewata was significantly harder to solo as a warrior, I think. And it's just like different combination of mechanics. Aha! Take this! Ow. Uh-oh. I don't... Oh, they figured it out in the end. Oh no! That's not a good idea! Oh no! Oh yeah, I guess that's an option. Hey Kraken Mo, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I was also expecting Small Frog. Oh. A sudden difficulty spike, one could say. Oh, right, that's an avoidable one. For some reason, I thought it was going to be raid-wide. That's a waste of a lot of cooldowns. Oh, right, Phoenix down! Completely forgot! Oh, yeah, that is an option. That's true. Oh, yeah! To about Phoenix Down making into the video now. I'll probably mention, oh yeah, remember, Phoenix Down. Have they changed it, Red Master? I didn't even know they did. Weird. But that I will say that's a hard one. I will say, as a mathematician, I would think that saying something is indivisible would be more confusing to, you know, random Joe than it's a prime. Because I have a feeling that random Joe will immediately go, but what do you mean indivisible? Everything can be divided by something. And then you have to go down the whole like, oh, well, you see, if it's indivisible by, you know, other than itself, then it means it has a fraction left over. But it's not like primes is a lot better, because if you don't want to know what a prime is, then you don't know what a prime is. Exactly, Bob. Yeah, sure, but what's a prime then? Either you know or you don't. Also true, Freelon. I suppose it sort of implies that what it means is indivisible by anything other than itself. I say, Jean Pierre, hope you're doing well. Yeah, also in regards to the Phoenix Down thing, for anyone who's kicking themselves over having sold all of their Phoenix Downs over the years, remember that they used to be unique, so you wouldn't even been able to stockpile them in the first place. I think you overestimate the thinking of some of the non-maths inclined. I don't know, Snillen. I'm specifically trying to say, I feel like they would specifically think, well, anything can be divided, because that's the kind of like that's the kind of logic I see when you try to explain primes to them. Like, well, then 1 should be a prime. Yeah, well, we've been over this. Hey, Michio, hope you're doing well. Although I hope you're doing well as well, Snillen. Nope, we're going to face change anyway. Maybe the cast bar in English always said indivisible. Thank you so much, Gene. People don't learn prime in school? They do, Gazzle. But a lot of people don't pay attention in math class. It basically, actually, now that we're on the topic, sometimes people are like, but how could someone not know how insert specific mechanic in Final Fantasy XIV works? The game has given them ample opportunity to learn it. Yeah, well, aren't children supposed to learn what a prime is in school? Like, it's the same idea. Just because there was an opportunity doesn't mean they learned. Just because this is the 5th mandatory duty with a stack marker in it doesn't mean that you actually paid attention the 4 first times. So remembering a specific non-useful piece of trivia math during a cast by is a bit of an ask. Well, it's not necessarily math trivia. Primes are important. It's just they might not be important to your life. Also, yeah, now that you reminded me, the blood spiller visual bug is quite something. It's particularly obvious when you're looking straight from behind. They're not important during school when you learn about them, though. True. It definitely doesn't help either. Like, it would be like, to take a little bit of a Final Fantasy XIV comparison point, it would be a little bit like if the first stack marker in the game was in Sastasha, and then the second stack marker is in, like, Praetorium. Don't we use giant prime numbers as encryption keys because the computer won't realize there's a prime until way too late? Oh, I don't know. Nixie2 says, wait, there's a stack mark in Sastasha? No, it was a hypothetical. Like, imagine if the game introduced a mechanic in the... Actually, there's a better idea. Imagine... For the sake of example, imagine in Sastasha, no worries, Nixie2, hope you're doing well. Imagine, like, at the very first, like, in Sastasha, at the first side room, there is, like, an item on the floor that tells you what coral you need to press to, like, access the boss. And if you press the wrong one, you get hit by ads, and then you have to try again, if I remember correctly, until you get it right, I think. I usually just get it right by reading the little parchment. Imagine if in Anamnesis and Nider, which has a lot of, has some references to old Sastasha, because, you know, fish people, imagine if there was a point in that dungeon where you needed to read a parchment, but because, you know, now it's a high-level dungeon, the punishment for getting it wrong is way harder. And they just assume... You know, Sastasha, you're supposed to know that, like, there's a parchment on the ground, you're supposed to read it. Like, who would remember that? Like, 65 levels later, who would remember that? No one. Maybe a few people would think about it, but, like, I personally would be like, well, I've gotten used to the parchments on the floor being optional trivia or lore, not important to the dungeon. So why would I read it while I'm doing the dungeon? And the logic there being that that's a little bit like how when you learn what primes are in school, you don't need it, and maybe you need it then a decade later for something. You don't remember. You'll probably relearn it, but you don't remember it from there. Oh, so that would make people just instantly leave after getting in the dungeon. I will say that, as I've said before, Anamnesis and Nider has a gigapull that people hated enough that they would do that anyway. As in, they would leave over that giant pull at the end. Because of... I don't... It's hard to explain. Jose Bundy, hope you're doing well. Now, will we go 4 for 4 on the tanks? I highly doubt it. We didn't get Paladin, but we got something with P. Jose Maledictio, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 52. Time to paint Bachman. And so in that case, Nixito, you have clearly not done Tastasha with me very much. I basically check it every time. We're painting happy little Bachmans. What do you think about always ensuring you have health potions for mental roulette, given the randomness of the content? Every time I get like a low-level dungeon as a tank, I kick myself over the fact that I have potions, but they're in my Chocobo saddlebag. And now that you've reminded me, let me just move them over, just in case. The reason why I often don't bother is because it only really makes a huge splash if I land in like a very low-level dungeon and my healer sucks. And you're pretty much, Nixito, the things on the ground like that you can read in dungeons, pretty much everything after Tastasha, it's almost all lore. I think shot in the dark, I'm pretty sure that there are things you can read somewhere in the Sunken Temple of Khan that would tell you. Like, there's something in the duty that will tell you what the correct answer is to the puzzle at the end. It might even be the scale at the entrance, because there's another one of them. Maybe that tells you the answer. So where are we going? Extreme Ramu! Woohoo! Oh, Taldamar's here! And Milo's here! Wait a minute! Hey, best of gears! Hope you're doing well. And Itki. We haven't gotten new potions in what 2 expansions. The hyper potions are from Endwalker. So 1. It's just that potions are typically not crazy high quality. Wonder if there's anything else worth talking about for specifically tanks. Sorry, it's really hard to talk and write. Oh. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, Lucas. We'll be doing well. And Cat. Talama? Talama? Yeah, you were supposed to start grabbing those orbs, like, frame 1 when the orbs appeared. You were not supposed to finish your opener. Ow. Oh, whoops. I have intentionally quietly forgotten to mention that the orbs make the blue circles do more damage, because I don't want anyone else to manage them. I'll do it. Or at least I'll try. And I'm sure Talaman Milo can help as well. Hey Mokostabi and Cole, hope you're doing well. I have not done the new extreme. Oh, that's going to hurt. Ow. Oh, that's going to be problematic. Or not. What's going to be really whoa, is that we have barely enough orbs. Hey Shaq, hope you're doing well. Uh-oh. Oh, the damage is ramping up. Rolling Thunder. Ooh, we have a lot of orbs. That hurt a lot. There's a tank switch incoming, so I'll hold for a second on that. I didn't need to paint that Living Muse. That was actually DPS loss, I'm pretty sure. Well, I've already painted it now. And I also already painted a hammer I'm not going to get to use. Well. Nice. Yeah, easy first try. How many achievements? The tank got it. The dragoon got it. And the bard got it. So at least 3 first timers. I got 4 commendations though. I'm guessing some of them were from Milo and Taldebar. I specifically gave mine to the tank first timer who actually did really well. Now you've convinced some sprouts that this fight isn't that hard. I mean, some of them died a lot, and it was pretty clear that we were handling a lot, so maybe not. But then, what can you do? They were actually good, right? Like, they were actually good. To be fair, they were good. I'll say, Travis, hope you're doing well. I will say, Telemann, that I feel like the fear markers were reasonably good once the fight got underway. I will queue when it says 30. M8 end time. I wouldn't mind. Even if we have like 3 players in the group that know exactly what to do, that isn't good enough if the sprouts are not very good. So the fact we got it first try speaks to their skill, I would say. Even if they were not perfect necessarily, they did well enough. Oh, Ravana Extreme. Oh, Lachar's here. Lachar and Taldemar. We have the tanks and healer. We can beat this. This easy. We have 1 healer and 2 tanks. We can probably beat this first try if the 3 of us nails it. I'll say Maki and Edored, hope you're doing well. I will say there might be a little bit of, like if it was just the 3 of us, there might be a little bit of like a DPS check thing, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we had no issues with it with 1 tank, 1 DPS, and 1 healer. Like, not even close to a problem. It was more like, you know, it was more like a problem of being able to, like, get the mechanics.
Dance to the song of ringing steel. Furious as a blaze.
Furious as a blaze. And yeah, also Ramu Extreme is way easier than Ramu Extreme. Very much so. I'm taking this one. That's weird. I'll take the funny safe spot in the middle of the cleaves. Did I not say Ravana? I meant Ravana, but I said Ramu. Our names got me. Aw, man. Ow. You know, I was joking, but we have to beat the Blessing of Earth in time. Uh-oh.
Take wing, ye souls of war!
And that is a DPS check. Now it isn't so easy, is it? Well, I mean... we should have been able to do that. With 4. There is some irony to wiping to Ravana Extreme, but not Ramu. I mean, Ozarel, we also had a Dragoon alive, didn't we?
Dance to the song of ringing steel! Furious as a blaze!
Furious as a blaze! It's not that much longer, oh, come on now. Use your Phoenix Downs, that was salvageable. You can't. First of all, you can't use Phoenix Downs in 8-man content. Second of all, the reason why I wasn't resing people was because we would have wiped anyway if we didn't make the DPS check, as you saw. Which was why I wasn't bothering to try and res people, because they wouldn't be able to get up in time to help us. So no, that was not salvageable. If the 4 of us couldn't beat the DPS check, then it's just over. So there was nothing that could be done. Even with Phoenix down, any one of us wasting time resing people that won't be able to attack before the DPS check is over anyway wouldn't work. Bruh. I'm going to try this instead. We're not making that. So all I can do is this and hope.
Take wing, ye
Now we have to kill all of these quickly. Hey Darth JF, hope you're doing well. This is going to hurt a lot. He has one sword he shouldn't have had. But only one, thankfully.
Rejoice in the glory of combat!
Hey Seraph, hope you're doing well. Oof.
Unyielding of the earth!
I think we're going to have some deaths. Yep. That is a stack marker. That is a stack marker. Hey Silly Bones, hope you're doing well. I put the safety Dorito on me. I'm just saying, I've done this fight first try multiple times. So it is quite funny that it is suddenly so... Which is like, that really goes to show that it, like, we can say all we want that extremes are really easy, but it's not easy for everyone.
Furious as a blaze!
Rather old extremes.
Wilt thou yield? I am invincible! Wilt thou yield? For before me!
Wow. Hey Harry, hope you're doing well. You know, I have actually tried him skipping the whole butterfly phase. Is that... Oh, never mind. But I have seen that happen. Oh, case in point! Yeah, you've also seen it happen now. Isn't that wild?
Rejoice in the glory of combat! Unyielding as the earth!
And this is a stack marker that looks like not. It also hurts the wall, but worth it. There you go. They call me. They call me Captain Baton Pass. Congratulations, Harry! See, the big trick here is just kill him first. And a mount drop. The hot potato! Oh, okay, Harry. Well, still congratulations to them. Cat on pass. Nice. Good old the Char. Doink. Very nice. High DPS is mitigation. Yep. Well, the reason why I said that in particular is that the swift liberation, if I remember correctly, is like, I think that's the limit, the OG limit cut mechanic, which means you really, really don't want to do that. But usually he dies first, so you don't need to deal with it. Are you a math teacher? No, but I have a master's degree in applied mathematics, and I have worked as a teacher's assistant. And a mentor, by the way. Hey, Sir Kev, hope you're doing well. Bob says, what is the DPS loss of using Picto Hammer every minute in a boss fight with close to 100% uptime? And nothing anymore. With patch 7.3, Hammer's now a gain. So, there's no DPS loss in using Hammer every minute anymore. Did you have a crown? No, I did not. But I was specifically a mentor for fellow university students that had some sort of disability. Like, for instance, they might have, I don't know, ADHD or some level of autism or something else. It doesn't have to be a mental, quote-unquote, problem, but I was basically helping those that needed it. Also, Viper time. I will queue when it says 8. Like, oh, 8. Real life safety Dorito, yeah, exactly. Where are we going next? Ultimate Weapon Extreme. And Taldemar's here. And the tank, the other tank from Ramu Extreme is also here. Did you teach them how to beat up an old guy with a beard there too? No, thankfully I didn't have to. Oh, we're just going for it. I mean, it's a lot easier when Taldemar's there. But we are both DPS this time, so we don't have that much control. Engaging rotation! Dun 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 dun. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1. And 2, 2, 2. I'm winning on damage! I must be doing something right. Ah! Evil Ganem, hope you're doing well. We're going to have a dead tank in a second. And here comes the final round. No! Ah. Well. So close. Covering the chat is less effective now? Yeah, but Freelon, the reason why the chat is covered is so that you can't see the names. For the most part. But you're right. I can see it being potentially a problem later, but we'll take that when we get there. If we get there. I'll say, Riki, hope you're doing well. You said initials on the chat? Yeah, but Freeland, how do you know? How do you think I figure out who's who? Hey, Lollipop Pizza. Hope you're doing well. The reason why I have no idea what the name of the warrior is because until a little bit ago is because they didn't say anything. Which was why I was just saying, like, generally, tank, please do a thing. Because I didn't even know what their first name was. Hey Tom, hope you're doing well. It works. It still sucks when someone dies as a result. Especially because I'd rather not see them not participate in the last round. That's exactly where we need them to participate. Nice. Now we win. Necrofit says, this was the first extreme I did synced. It was very easy as a sprout. Even joined a synced party, find a clear group a time or two and help them clear for fun. Darth JF says, this was the first extreme I did mine. Was very proud of myself. Then a mentor on my novice network effectively said, yeah, it's a baby extreme. Don't quite agree with that. Like, that's not very nice. This was my first experience with an extreme as well. This was the duty where I learned that extremes are not easy. Or trivial, anyway. Because we went in, or I went in, I was Paladin, and, like, we had the tank switch mechanic. I decided to test whether you could, you know, tank switch with hallowed ground. You could not, and I will point out that the fight was long enough that we didn't see orbs before tank switch was necessary. I specifically remember that. And after like 2 or 3 wipes, people started leaving. And I was just like, okay, well, that's not something I will queue for. That's when it was when I learned it. Like, Ultimate Weapon Extreme is a really good example of a duty where if you know what you're doing, it's done so fast that you'll get a clear faster than many normal trials. But if you don't know, then it's going to drag out really quickly. I'll say, Caitlin, hope you're doing well. And hey, Zip, hope you're doing well as well. I will queue when it says 8 or 48. That's a good point, Taldemar. I should do that. Say, Tran, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I think that's the important takeaway, Harry. Is basically if what you do every Tuesday is run a marathon, then someone asking you if you'd like to run half the distance is going to be like, what? Why? That's baby mode. So yeah, if you're used to doing Savage a lot, then Extremes are going to feel a lot harder. The thing that makes... Extremes are going to feel a lot easier. The thing that makes Extremes and Men's Roulette so problematic is because a lot of the time, the average skill level is a lot lower. So you have to carry hard. Which is also why it was fun to do the Extreme Countdown streams. And also, yeah, if you're enjoying the stream, it does help me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm this is an enjoyable stream, like other people to enjoy it as well. So thank you so much in advance. Oh, it says I missed the Dragoon tether? It was a shame when they removed that. It's also weird, like, Dragon Sight was really janky. Up to its last, it was the only buff that stacked at an unlimited amounts. As in, 7 Dragoons could stack Dragon Sight on one player, and all 7 buffs would work. I mean, the only damage buff that could stack infinitely, essentially. Because, like, you could stack 7 Aspected Benefics if you wanted to. Or 7 regions. Dragoons see it. Tanma says, I love seeing Dragoons use it on themselves. You see, that's the funny thing, is that they added the option to use it on yourself to, like, make it quote-unquote convenient for solo content. But a lot of Dragoons just went, well, I can't be bothered to click someone else. Like, I'm just saying. Wow! That's quite lazy. It's pretty funny, they added a similar effect to Nascent Flash. Because Nascent Flash in Shadowbringers, like, Raw Intuition was just raw damage reduction, while Nascent Flash gave you lifesteal for you and the person you chose. But initially, you know, you required a target, so Warrior couldn't use Nascent Flash when alone. When they changed that so you could, well, some Warriors would just use it on themselves because they couldn't be bothered to target someone else. And then Bloodwedding was added and all that. And also true, the problem with the red tether from Dragoon was that a lot of people thought it was dangerous. That's also the same problem that there is with Ether Pact. The green beam, some people think that it's a tether they need to break or something. But it is funny with the Dragoon tether thing, where people just, like, when you could use it on yourself, people just started using them on themselves, is that, I believe the argument I heard was it's difficult to target someone else, especially on console, but I'm like, or, well, you know, on controller, but I'm like, so make a macro or something, right? That's why I'm equating it to a little bit of laziness. And yeah, the same with cover. The cover has gotten easier now because it's 20 yawns, it's pretty hard to get away before the thing you're covering for has resolved. Oh, it says there were macros. I mean, I made macros for it. Like, when people asked, I would just make one. Like, focus target macro, mouse over macro, just a macro that just targets players in a specific order. Like, there were a lot of options. So if you didn't use one, it was like, either, 1, you didn't know, or 2, you were lazy. Like, that was basically your options. It's also quite funny with the tether thing, because in my experience, in PvP, like frontline, I have never had problems with people running away from me when I've used Guardian on them. That also produces a tether. Also that, Ilana, maybe you don't realize that you're choosing not to like buff someone else extra. Also, another trial or normal raid. Are we getting M8N now? We're getting Fist of the Father. Good old Fist of the Father. Pro tip, you can knockback immune these. Oh, right. I forgot that I didn't have a Drake's Bane here. The Fist of Family Values. But yeah, something like Dragonsight giving you the option to use it on yourself can easily be misunderstood. So let me adjust my statement to be more like, if you know how Dragonsight works and you're then saying I can't be bothered to target someone else, then you're lazy. But if you don't know, then you don't know. They made it Dragon Wi-Fi before removing it, true? But the fact that it was still infinitely stackable at that point was pretty funny. Ah! As a Sprout Dragoon, I knew how the eye worked, but I was, in fact, very lazy. See, that's the kind of energy you need when these things happen. You just say, yeah, I was lazy, and? And? There's nothing wrong, like like you just own it. Like, yeah, I was lazy. I know better now. Or whatever, like, nothing bad about it, that's just how it is. We might be in trouble here. That moment when everyone unleashes their 2-minute burst and then they remember there's another guy. Are we going to wipe here? Bum bum ba bum. Oh, whoops. Hey, Dark Phoenix. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, the problem is, if you go all out on one of them, you need to be able to go at least just as much all out on the other one. If you just let it rip with the full burst on one of them, and then like the second one, now you don't have any burst, then we're not going to make it. That's generally where the problem lies. Otherwise, it's probably fine. Shaq says, what happened? We killed the first oppressor too fast. And then we didn't have juice left to kill the other one. Which makes very good sense with this team composition. Like, you can picture it. The warrior used their whole berserk. The paladin uses fight or flight. The summoners used redworm trance, and the ninja used, you know, trick attack burst and all that. And I was using my thing. I think I switched target in the middle, but then, like, the second one comes in and we don't have our burst anymore. I usually don't have any problems either, Harry, but sometimes these things happen. And saying there's never a problem is going to be, like, suggesting that there's never a problem is just going to get you caught in a situation where there is a problem sometimes. Thank you! Are the weapon series trials in the trial roulette? Yes, it is. They are. But, you don't really have any reason to unlock them nowadays. Yeah, exactly. Like, the main thing is the cool fights. Shamana. Let me just check something to be sure. Let's do 2 items. I will queue when it says 20. Was my least favorite job? Practically speaking, it's between Bard and Ninja. But I both like them, like, thematically and visually. I'm just not very good at them. But I think, Redmaster, that it's the same problem as the classic with, like, Crystal Tower, is that there's a lot of alliance raids that people just don't unlock, so it's just going to be a lot, like, it's just going to be Crystal Tower. Like, all it takes in, like, a 24-man lineup is one person not having unlocked any parts of the Void Ark, one person not having unlocked any part of Ivalice, one person not having unlocked any part of Near Raids, and one person not having unlocked any part of Aglaya or anything. And boom, it'll be Crystal Tower, even if everyone has unlocked everything else. Would simply having the Endwalker Relic on hand be enough to swap for spell speed? Kind of, Nosreld. But what if I get Tender Valley? What if I get a Dawntrail dungeon? You see the problem? It just says, I wish the weapon fights had more FF7 in the music, considering that's what they're from. Yeah, I agree. I'm confused why they didn't. Where's those who fight further? Harry, you say sadly, but a lot of people are happy that you can't eye-level cheese anymore. Back when you could, it was not unusual to have like one person basically being like, "You're welcome, I made sure we got Crystal Tower by stripping." Meanwhile, there'd be like 10 people going like, "Oh, Crystal Tower again." Like, I legit had periods where people would, like, there would be like 5 people leaving when you got Crystal Tower. And like, sure, you will also sometimes see that with the other Alliance raids, right? Like, some people going, "No, I wanted Crystal Tower." But it is funny that some people acted like people queued for Alliance raids to get Crystal Tower, because some people actually did that, like, acted like that. And yeah, true, people still leave Crystal Tower. Just in general, I believe like nearly all of my mentor roulette experiences in Alliance raid is me being an instant replacement. Because someone left. Red Mail says, "Why on earth would you want Crystal Tower?" Because the daily reward was the same, and Crystal Tower is faster. That was the idea anyway. I'm pretty sure the daily reward is actually bigger if you get something else nowadays. But genuinely, some people just wanted a quick roulette. And there is also the detail that, for instance, where Circus Tower takes like 10 minutes, maybe 12, something like Tower at Paradigm's Breach can take 40 minutes. Depending on the group. And, like, that's the problem. I've mentioned that before. It is a little difficult to queue for something where like, sure, when you're queuing for, like, Expert Roulette, it could take 20 minutes if your group is really bad, right? But it's really difficult to queue for something and being sure you have the time when you don't know whether it's going to take 10 minutes or 40 minutes. Like, you might be queuing for it thinking, I have time for something 10 minutes, and then you get near raid and you're like, well, I don't have time for this. Arguably, then just don't queue, right? Easy solution. But some people queue anyway and then be like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't Crystal Tower. And then that happens. These rewards are the same as getting first or second walk. Not quite. You see this? You see this? You get this every time you do the second walk. Now, Circus Tower gives this. Now, they both will also give you this. So it's not quite. But admittedly, back when the problem was the worst, there wasn't really a difference. Like, the rewards from the specific Alliance raids were garbage. Like, they scaled incredibly badly. In hindsight, I should probably have saved my ether charge for the Gobu. We had a real good thing going, and then we got a guild test. I will queue when it says 39. It's meant to roulette day, my goops. That's fair, Quester. That's also, like, the thing is, the problem is that with Crystal Tower, just in general, the mechanics are generally easy enough that it doesn't really matter what group you get. You're going to clear it approximately the same pace. Approximately. Whereas with Near Raid, just as an example, it can take anywhere between like 25 minutes and 45 minutes, depending on how many in your raid actually knows what to do. I specifically remember, and I saw this both with the Near Raids and with the Endwalker Alliance raids. Once a new expansion rolled out, the time for an average Alliance raid increased significantly because, like, many of the players that made the runs faster stopped queuing for it. And people stopped having reason to do it weekly, so people got worse at the at doing the mechanics, and new players came in not knowing the mechanics, and so on and so forth. So the big problem is that, like, how do the developers balance that? Like, how much more XP should the Near raids give, for instance, than the Crystal Tower raids? If they wager that an Alliance raid that plays the fights reasonably well would be able to do it in like 25 minutes, then like double XP or so should be fine, right? But that's definitely not good enough if the average group actually takes 35 minutes. Then it kind of needs to be like triple XP. But then, like, that's maybe the average group. And you're still risking it. You're still risking going in a 45-minute group, and if it's a 45-minute group, then 3 times isn't good enough. Like, it's too unpredictable, so players would rather have something predictable. That's also, I believe, one of the reasons why we have all those problems with, like, it's nice to have a hard duty in your roulettes when it's new and fresh and exotic and interesting. But when you're doing a 50th run, when you're doing your 50th run, then it's very exhausting when little Timmy doesn't get it and you wipe again because the fight is hard. And you just want your daily done. Tongue says make it so the XP scales up with time. I know that this is very pessimistic, but Tongue, could you imagine how that would work? I'm just saying. Devil's advocate. Okay, we'll land in the duty. The moment the final boss is reached, half the raid just strangely become idiots and just die, or intentionally, quote-unquote, accidentally kill other players with mechanics. Oops, my bad, whoops. And just repeatedly wipe the group to, like, really stretch the timer. Close enough that, like, they maximize the XP gains, but low enough that you're still gonna beat it. And on the one hand, there's probably a lot of players that are like, why would someone do that? Right? Like, that, it scales reasonably, surely, so there's no need to. But I've seen enough players to know that some would. Also that, you'd probably have, like, full Alliance raids just AFK to run the timer. Exactly, Dark Phoenix. People just min-max it. That's like, you just don't want to do that. Poor old little Timmy, you're always picking him out of the group for playing bad. Sorry, Steve. And yeah, also true, Freelon. The thing is, even if it's not optimal, it would be the MSQ roulette argument. Some players will run MSQ roulette, and, you know, the benefit for them is that it, like, in the cutscenes, they can do, like, some laundry, or, like, cook some food, or watch a show. It doesn't really matter to them that it takes a long time, that it maybe is not as time efficient as it should be. They can just slack, and it's fine. Cat says we should probably remove the chat function. Some people use that for bad things. I get your point, Cat, and agreed. like there's probably not that many people that would abuse it, but it's more like the specific thing in alliance raids would be that it could actually end up being like people optimizing it in that way, to the degree where it would probably not be for the best. But there could be a solution, like some sort of middle ground. But I do get what you mean. I do get what you mean. Necrofit says, can you believe the tanks couldn't figure out how to tank Hansel and Gretel for 40 minutes and we suddenly walked out with quadruple XP? Weird that. I suppose a counter-argument is that if there was such a feature, then players would finally be willing to let people watch the cutscene. No, don't pull! Let them watch. Actually, take your time. That would be pretty funny. Yeah, let them watch an RP walk. Yeah. That's actually also, I remember I touched on this a while back. I believe it was in my video on the fact that some mentors leave hard content, quote unquote. There's a video from a while back where the argument was the reason some mentors do mentor roulette is for the achievement itself. And as far as they're concerned, spending an hour in an extreme, possibly an hour in an extreme, is not worth it. So they'll just leave. And they have the opportunity to do that. And thank you, Ardell. A solution I suggested in that video, I think, was what if the achievement was spending X amount of time in mentor roulettes? Like, just be in mentor roulettes. On the one hand, quote unquote, you could abuse it, but can you really? Like, you land in, I don't know, Sastasha. There's 90 minutes on the clock. Do you actually gain anything from sitting there for 90 minutes? When you could just do the duty and queue again. Like, you could sit there for 90 minutes, or you could just queue again. Like, the key is that, and yeah, exactly, Kat, that's where it becomes awkward, is if you could somehow, oh look, it is actually, and Talamar's here again, wow. It was actually Tender Valley. I called it somehow. But yeah, exactly. There could be people, like, deliberately setting it up. You know, that's also a thing. Not seen very often, but a thing that sometimes comes up is some, like, mentors setting it up with, like, like, I have specifically heard people, like, supposedly paying someone else to just spam queue for guild hests, so that this other person can just get a lot of guild hests in their mentor roulettes. Now, been told they're more likely to do it in, you know, like, at the time of day where there's less going on, so that they're more likely to land and, like, run into each other. Hey Thomas, hope you're doing well. But yeah, exactly. If the requirement is just to be in the duty for 90 minutes, for instance, like you just need to be in the duty, then it would be very easy to abuse that. And then the question you, of course, need to ask yourself is, do you care? Like, is it better to just go, and so what? You know, the weirdest part about that Lollipop Pizza is that mentor could have escaped by just turning off the feature where they get put in, get put in as replacement in already active duties. They could just opt out. Yeah, that's also a good point, Dark Phoenix. And a way to try and deal with it would be to like say, well, you only get the credit if the duty is successful. But then that loses in another aspect, because the benefit to sitting through, quote unquote, sitting through an extreme would be that you get credit anyway. Like if you get credit for sitting through that extreme for an hour, and the game doesn't mind, like it's like, well, you tried for an hour, right? Then there's no reason to leave. But if you need to win for it to count, then we're back at square one, right? And then we accomplished nothing. And that's also a suggestion, Red Mail, that maybe it would have been better if the achievement like valued different difficulty duties differently, but it doesn't. But that could be a solution to help it as well. And yeah, Caitlin, as I said earlier in this stream, all that is expected of you, when it really comes to it, or all that should be expected of you, is that you try. That's all it takes, is that you try. You don't even need to be good. You just have to try. You could do it so you have to do a certain number of different types of content. I mean, the idea is good there, Steve, but like you're queuing in a random roulette. The thing that people are doing to abuse it is basically trying to game the system. Like, that's where it goes wrong. So like, there's a lot of ways you could try and combat it, and each solution has like its own downsides. I don't know what's the best solution, and as like, I think the idea of doing, well, you need to do you need to spend a certain amount of time could be good, but you saw Cat just immediately went like, yeah, then you just have AFK parties. Like, all it takes is them managing to queue into each other once. Can you queue Mentor Roulette as a group of mentors? No, you cannot. You cannot. That's also the reason why it's so funny when I randomly like queue into people. Because it requires, like, if we could queue as a group, then that's what we'd do, right? I just go, who's joining me? Let's go. Lucas says, would you say it's better to use Luna Bahamut heal even if it's not necessary, or just let the timer on it expire? I mean, if I remember, I'll always use it. Someone might be missing 5 HP, and the alternative is that you're like leaving that damage on the table. Oh, sorry, the healing on the table, which could in a really, really roundabout way, possibly lead to damage loss for the healer later down the line if you don't bother. So I would say, unless it somehow costs you damage, just send it. And like, a pretty convenient time to do it. Like, either you can, like, even with a bad latency, you can probably do it during, like during a summoning. Like, while you're summoning something anyway. It's the same as Phoenix Rekindle. I usually just drop it on the tank. And then maybe they'll take damage, maybe they won't. It would be nice, though. Quick quality of life suggestion coming from over here. If they just gave you, like, a Lux Solaris charge. So you could choose when you want to use it. And you just have it until you need it. Because I feel like what often makes it feel kind of pointless is that you have 30 seconds to use it. Like, that's what really makes it difficult. Is that it's very often you don't actually need it in those 30 seconds. Come back! You must die! Never mind. The best tip I can give, Sukeb, is that you probably need to have, like, your gear reasonably in order. Doink. I will use the limit break after this. Meow. Healing just for me. Ah, you shouldn't have. Man, this room is difficult. I almost ran into a problem. If I had had to do my melee combo, I might actually risk having to do the mechanic. The quote-unquote mechanic. That trick that I just showed off works for Black Mage, for Pictomancer, somewhat for Summoner, somewhat for Red Mage. Astrologian it also works for, I think. Yeah, I'd probably do the same, Gazel. But fortunately, it didn't come to that. What trick? You can stand outside the range of all the sideline AoEs in the previous room and just shoot at the big guy. That's also an option, Red Mail, but I like to do mechanics correctly. But there is something hilarious about being able to do it correctly by not even participating. You know, that's also true, Cat. If you could time your melee combo just right, then you could just backflip out to safety when you're done. I did not overhealing with my Luxolaris. Would it work for Machinist? No, because you want to get in close for Scattergun and Flamethrower and Bioblaster. Maybe if you're willing to like run back and forth, but I feel like that kind of makes it lose a lot of value. The same problem for Bard. Like, your AoE is mostly 12-yard cone in front of you, and let's just say that the distance to that mob that you're firing at is like close to 20 yards. Oh. Oh. Bum bum ba bum. And also that Machinist, Bard, and Dancer, you can probably just dodge just fine, right? And that's a good point. Hey Nox, hope you're doing well. Sage. I'll queue when it says 30. Hasting error. Hope you're doing well. I mean, it's a really silly trick. It doesn't work for a lot of jobs. Ghost Park also has a similarly silly trick. However, it requires a lot more effort from the entire party. So I did it like once or twice with Gazel, I think. And then never again. We have... Whoa, what? Oops, all classes. Okay. Exactly, Necrofits. You can do that, but it doesn't really, like nowadays especially, there's no point. Like, the dolls are not that big of a deal. Thank you, Rust. I'll say, with an archer, it would be faster to pull big. But I'm not going to make a big deal of it. Like, I don't mind. It would probably also be faster to pull big even without the archer, but more the fact that the archers should have quick knock. They aren't using quick knock, so never mind. But, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is because quick knock is a gain on toe. Yes. Maze. Meanwhile, Sage is like, you don't even have a dot. The truest mental roulette. Yeah, it's fine. The thing is, in a duty like this, it's usually like, oh, there's the quick knock. Very nice. most, like your average party in a dungeon like Tamtara, it's going to be like the tank has an AoE. Maybe your mage has one. But if they do, they're probably a black mage or a red mage. If it's a red mage, you're good. If it's a black mage, it's Fire 2 and Blizzard 2, and it's not that impressive. Or it's a ranged physical, and if it's a ranged physical, then you just go to town, especially if it's a dancer. Like, oh boy. But yeah, like, this is fine. It's mostly just me, like, just, you know, observing. My rotation is very complicated, as you can see. Like, oh man. Doesn't get any harder than this. I'm totally not pouring myself a glass of water while doing this. The funniest duty to get Dancer in is enemy strongholds, in my opinion. Standard finish, like into the 5 Spriggans that spawn, it's just, and then you like windmill and they're dead. Like the rest of your party's just like, why are we even here? Not getting an AoE by your first dungeon is criminal? I don't know. The thing is, Tong, this is like a standard we've decided at some point that it should be different. I'm just saying that's something players have decided because, as you can see, the developers don't agree. It's supposed to be the case that some jobs get their first AoE sooner than others. That's how it is. That's how they want it to be. And that's how it is. Consider that originally Paladin straight up didn't get an AoE. As in, they had a move that generated AoE enmity, but aside from Circle of Scorn at level 50, no AoE damage at all whatsoever. And when they finally got Total Eclipse and Stormblood, that was level 46. 46. So I'm just saying, it's just, they've just decided that. I would also say that some of the jobs that don't have an AoE in the first few dungeons hit ridiculously hard on single target. Like, Viper and Samurai, both, like, if it's single target you want, like, the only job that can, like, compete with that is, like, Dancer. It's pretty much Dancer. Standard finish, kaboom! And then it's back to Viper. How much damage boost is Astral Fire 1? 40%. Fire 1 in Astral Fire 1 is 252 potency. OG Total Eclipse didn't... I mean, OG Total Eclipse did generate enmity. It was just... It did like 100 potency. And in Stormblood, that's not a lot. Like, Overpower was like slightly more damage. Hey, Casey Cake! Hope you're doing well. What's the strongest DPS at the moment? That's a complicated question. That's a very complicated question, OO. Because it kind of depends. It depends on your group composition. It depends on the fight. And yeah, it does. If you go and say, well, I just looked at FF logs and it says here, then you're missing context. And yeah, the thing that Flash did is that Flash, you know how Provoke generates a ludicrous amount of enmity? Like just kaboom, and you have a huge amount in addition to being at the top. It generates a huge amount of enmity. Flash did just the huge amount of enmity part, which was really significant back in the day. As in, warriors were happy that they could cross-class to grab Flash. Because while they could spam Overpower, sure, Flash was just way better at actually establishing aggro initially. But it didn't, like, Flash didn't do any damage. But it was sometimes worth it, because then you didn't have to, you know, do an enmity combo. That's not super relevant for warriors, because their enmity combo was their damage combo for a really long time, so, you know. And also, Flash didn't cost TP, so you could, you know, you could spam it when you were out of TP. Or you could use a mix. Also, hey Perrin, hope you're doing well. Have you done Cape Westwind with a full no Jobstone party? I have not, but Cape Westwind has also been reworked, remember? So we can't anymore. But I have once done Cape Westwind where the mechanics actually started to resolve. Like, I actually had one time where, like, half the party died. Because, if you don't actually kill him fast enough, if you didn't kill him fast enough, the first thing he did was summoning an enormous circle AoE. Like, right after he summons ads, I believe. And the enormous circle AoE is like, yeah, you need to run. Like, you really, you need to, lift up your skirt and start going. Because otherwise you're dead. Especially if you weren't, Ironworks Magitech gear. And I have seen that resolve once. And then he died. I was like, oh, that's cool. Anyway. But yeah, basically with Flash, it was just that it was very good at establishing aggro. It just looked a little awkward that Paladin, essentially didn't have anything else. Like, their option was use Flash to establish aggro and then single target each thing. Let's say you don't raid at all. Is there a strongest DPS, quote unquote? No, not really. It's still complicated. I would say if you only participate in casual content, then selfish DPS jobs, especially ones that have the flexibility to burst when a raid buff appears, will probably be really, really good. At least slightly better than the ones that can't. And when I say that, I basically mean Black Mage and Viper. Black Mage can just ley line when they see a raid buff. Viper can just reawaken when they see a raid buff, and they can just always have one stockpiled. They can just always hold one. Oh, that was an invuln limit break. That's awkward. But you can just always hold a reawaken for when you see a raid buff, and then just send it. Most other bursty, more selfish DPS jobs just can't do that. Pictomancer kind of has to burst when it bursts. Samurai kind of has to be ready for it. If you do it when the samurai is ready, it'll do great. But if you do it at a different time, then it just won't be able to be ready in time. So that would be my suggestion. But ultimately, if you're not doing hard content, then you personally will probably do better with your favorite job. Because you'll enjoy it more, you'll be more interested to practice it more. So it doesn't really matter, but if we're going to be really focusing on what works well in casual content, then it's probably down to it depends on level as well, because at certain levels, specific jobs are really, really good. Dance and low-level dungeons, for instance. But in a max level duty context, then in casual, I would imagine that Black Mage and Viper would be among the jobs that have the greatest capacity to really nail it, regardless of your group. But it doesn't matter. Oh, it might have been a pre-made. And yeah, if it's going to be a healer, then White Mage is probably really good. Oh, we finally got Paladin. Oops, all tanks. White Mage is really solid if you have no idea how strong your party, like how good your party's going to be, because thin air means you can get away with a ludicrous amount of healing. And it doesn't have raid buffs. So if your party's damage sucks, then you can actually carry a little bit on it. I'll queue when it says 55. But yeah, again, overall, playing what you enjoy the most is going to do the best for you. But there are a few jobs that are like a little better at making the most of the situation, you could say. Hey Jumbo Flan, hope you're doing well. Says, I hear a lot of people saying Machinist is terrible right now. Why is that? Machinist has been like in the lower like performance relative to other jobs for so long that people have a tendency to exaggerate it. Machinist is fine. It's not the best, but it is fine, and it actually does better in more casual duties and worse groups than Bard and Dancer typically does. So don't worry about it, Jumbo Flan. Oh! More extreme. Let's see, I should be grabbing Tirada. Nice. This is going to look really funny in the duty distribution for this one. Oh, 4 extremes. Ooh, boy. Yeah, don't worry about it, Jumbo Flan. Play Machinist. It'll do great. Uh-oh. Didn't make it. That is not good. That is what we call not good. We can only save this if that summoner rests someone right now. And now it's over. There's no way to recover from that now. Because we're not going to, like, they're going to enrage. The thing that got us was specifically that the satin plume was not killed fast enough. That was what got us, specifically. The Satan plume. What people who haven't done mental roulette think mental roulette is like this? That is mine. The other tank really wanted all of them. Oh, this is going to hurt a lot. There's not a lot of rocks left. Matthew says I was referring to the number of streams. Ah. Alright, Harry, enjoy work. Yeah, that does sound about right, Matthew. A lot of people might be expecting a lot more extremes than really are in Mentor. You were doing Ramu Extreme again, Zalima. With Lishan, nice. Lishan! Wow. Let's see how big of a difference this makes. Dunk. Nothing. So, technically, you want to protect the spiny plume, but you don't need it. Just kill the boss. The reason why you'd actually prefer to just get rid of the spiny plume is also simply because it can, I believe it wipes you if the tank if whoever it's attacking gets a certain number of debuff stacks. So if you don't need it, If you don't need it, then you can just, like, just kill it there, and you're done. What do you mean, oh, crystalline conflict? Francis was gone for a while. 2 extremes in one stream. This is the 4th extreme. Or was it you getting 2 extremes? Yeah, there used to be crystalline conflict streams on this channel. I just stopped. As it turns out, I discovered that PvP streams... Not a lot of people that watch the channel care that much about PvP. So it's just... You know... That was also specifically the last Crystalline Conflict stream was one where, like, at some point I got stuck in, like, 30 minutes of queue and then we just did frontline instead. And I don't want to plan a stream not being 100% certain that I can actually do the thing that I promised. Need to use the word extreme in video title. 4 extremes! Oh, dancer. Monk getting memed. I'll queue when it says 04. An extremely weird day in Mental Roulette. Ooh. Oh. Of course. I don't even have standard step here. The way I do it, Nosrel, is that I just record, like, exactly what you're seeing on stream here. I just hit record when, like, just before I start the wheel. So I record both the wheel and the duty. And then I record the whole thing. It's pretty neat when I know I want the footage. I often also just record an entire stream if there's a chance I would like to use some of the footage. I'll queue when it says 33. And here I hit record right there. Because I didn't need to record me queuing. Oh! Going to go with the Reaper with the food source.
Joined as one, never to be parted, unbound by past or future in this single perfect moment.
What's cheating?
We shall draw your memories from you.
Using a meter? Well, how would I do that? I didn't even see them attack. Also, we need to give it a sec. I don't even know if the Reaper will actually pay off. In retrospect, it may be one of the samurai I should have buffed, as you can see. Is it a hobby or making bank from this? This is technically my job, but I'm not making bank from it. Thanks, Aerodel. Indeed. There are months where I'm actually making, like, technically negative money. So if you are enjoying what I make, then the support is very much appreciated. That was a nice time. I was just about to have to consider whether I needed to use my 2-minute burst and then be interrupted. But to be clear, this started as a hobby, right? I started making videos for fun. And it's still fun. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a point to doing it.
Once you are erased from our memory,
You've got to protect her memories. Hurry!
Welcome to the Cult of the Paint, Joshua. Thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. It's aptly apt timing. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the emotes also.
Delicious, aren't they?
These are actually quite good.
See?
This is an awkward time to have a 2-minute burst because these packs just don't live long enough.
such fragile things.
Oh, this is going to get scary. Never mind. We're good.
What happened to the other half?
I ate it.
Am I being erased from her memory?
And here comes the weird pack where you can actually overlap the stack markers if you want.
I told you it would make a great necklace.
The one moment every time people are like, are there any other stack markers in the game that you can stack?
Me? But I thought
This is it. This is it.
They shatter. They fade.
Whee! Send dudes.
Is this ice? Where did this come from?
If this
Send
goes on
bigger
much
and
longer,
bigger, guys.
she'll
Uh-oh.
forget everything.
We tire of your insolence.
How about this one?
That's my color. Now, this one.
Summoning larger and larger men.
What am I doing with this? I'd never wear this color.
Wouldn't?
No! We can't let this happen!
No! Please wear that color! You must! Hey Barry, hope you're doing well. No!
Tranquility and vitality in perfect balance.
Tranquility must be restored! I could have set up that standard step a lot better.
No! Are you something I cannot fall?
Ah, right.
Now your memories belong to us.
Nice, no one got hit. Fire and water, right? I hope I'll remember that.
Memories of Earth.
Memories of Earth. Ah! Oh boy. I overcapped there because I was more focused on getting the curing waltz off, right? Whoops. I failed them. I misled them. How could I? Oh, whoops. I had a little bit of trouble seeing it. I felt. Lightning and water. Okay. That's like out here.
Memories of ice.
Oh, right. Water and lightning. You know, it didn't even occur to me that it was Taldemar again. I just saw has the most HP and thought, yeah, why not? And then it worked. I'm telling you, when all the names are just initials, I'm basically blind. Level 80 open on Reaper, so cursed. Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. But hey, you brought it home. You got there in the end. Welcome back, False Geek. Yeah, pretty funny. So Ifrit, it's like slim side cones that are safe. And Garuda is like AoEs on Cardinals, or like cones on Cardinals. And Leviathan is quote-unquote hot wings, as we usually call it, which is like a line AoE through the middle, is the safe spot. And then Ramu is just a circle AoE. The reason why I just stood still for Shiva is because I specifically remembered that, like, usually, and specifically the initial spread markers where you need to dodge, but you can usually just wait it out. Aside from that, you can just wait it out. So since I didn't have a spread marker, I just stood still. Was Amy doing well? I'm not sure, Mia. It's just, you know, it's for the best, because if you have someone who's a real jerk, if I'm recording off stream, I can just, you know, just cut out the part where they're a real jerk. But if it's live, then I can't really protect that. When I do most of my streams, sometimes there'll be randos in the groups, but there isn't really much focus on them. It's usually just like we're just doing dailies or whatever. And if, like, the only randos will be like in an alliance raid or something. So it usually doesn't, like, it doesn't really matter. But when it is Mentor, it can be difficult to comment on a situation without, like, throwing someone under the bus if they're, you could say, not anonymous. And the thing is, I can do and say all I want that my community, the community, doesn't stoop to those levels of, they wouldn't, like, seek someone out and witch hunt them for some minor thing. But I can't ensure everyone is like that. And the best I can do is try and be like, don't be that guy. Like, be the better person. We don't do that here. But some people will get the wrong idea anyway. And so to protect the innocent, one could say, I hide the chat log and I hide the names when we do mental roulette now. I actually, like, when I record off stream, I record without, like, a chat block. That's also why the chat is just black in those videos, because I basically just grab, like, a pair of scissors and just cut it out. But it's really handy to have the chat log in case someone said or did something, or, like, I'm trying to recall a name or something, because they'll only be there for me. It's just, it's like a safety measure. It's also easier for me to be like, you know, maybe a little harsh if someone is like doing something rather specific that is causing problems without, like, you know, encouraging anyone to witch hunt them. Is that I can, quote unquote, more safely get away with calling someone out for being an ice mage, for instance, and being a jerk about it, if they're anonymous in my video, right? Not that I would. Like, generally, I try my best to, like, be more constructive than that. But it is good to have that safety net if it feels like it goes a little bit overboard, right? Because ultimately, we mostly are there to learn something or to laugh or have fun. And that's good enough for me. And we can still do that with all the names hidden. Ice mages are cool, leave us alone. They certainly aren't warm, yeah, exactly. I do think that is funny, by the way, because when the Black Mage changes came in 7.2, with the timer and all that, I'm just saying. Alright, good evening, Sokep. Thank you for coming. The players that the timers and all that actually helped with the players who were actively trying to do it right, but was having difficulty with it, you could say. The players that some people mockingly suggested these changes were for were basically the players that are going to continue being Ice Mages. Like, they're not going to change. They don't care. To be fair, for a moment, I'm just saying, in Endwalker, the frustration that about the damage bonuses on the Astral Fire and such were a lot more justified. They're still justified. But in Endwalker, they were a lot more justified, because Aspect Mastery 1, 2, and 3 didn't say how much. And the, the helper description thing that pops up when you unlock Astral Fire that explains it didn't specify how much it was. So, like, the numbers were something that you just had to know. But in Dawntrail, they actually put the numbers there. Now, the problem is, a lot of people don't check the traits. So they might not even realize. But there is something funny about it. If you actually read this Black Mage traits for a moment, your fire spells do more damage in Astral Fire. You do more damage. Your fire spells do even more damage when in fire. Your fire spells do even more damage while in fire. You do more damage. As the first 5 traits are damage, 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 and also the ice thing. Barry says, would you ever do a stream hangout with treasure maps or something along those lines? I might. However, the problem there is that I don't think I would do it in any other way than having like a full pre-made before we start. Because I don't think any other way is... I think any other way would quickly feel like someone would feel cheated. Liam says, this might be a quote-unquote cursed change, but what if they set the potency of ice magic when MP is full to 0? That would be weird. Like, that would be like, at that point, they might, like, it feels too forced. It feels too forced. Like, at that point, they might as well just make it so that when you're at full MP, the spells just turn into the fire spell. And at that point, like, we're just making Viper again, right? I think that's a bad idea. I think it would be better to just accept that some players are just not going to learn it. Like, the thing is, mages, all 4 mages, yes, including Pictomancer, just has ways you can do it wrong. Like, they just have ways you can do it wrong. And that's okay. That's just fine. How many duties did we do? Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. 13. B3, B4, Ice Paradox, it does no damage. Ice Paradox would do damage because it does unexpected damage. And also that. I have also done that. Sometimes I'll just, like, cast an extra Blizzard 4. Because, like, this is last GCD, there's no point in, like, do the whole transpose and attack and such. And yeah, exactly as Mia says, why is it we're so caught up in Black Mages not being perfect? There are players in all categories that goof it up, that do not care. And yeah, so cheated, as in, like, if I did, like, maps like that, I only have so many maps. So I would need to be like, so people need to bring their own maps as well. But, like, if you brought 2 maps, it's only fair that you stay for everyone else's 2 maps, right? Unless you have to go, but other than that, it's equal opportunity. Everyone brought 2 maps, and then we all do 2 maps each. Which means, like, that takes so long that maybe we can have 2 sets of that. Maybe. But then it'll be, like, late. And And also, depending on luck, it might take a very little time or a lot of time. So it would be a difficult stream to do. But part of the reason why I might not is because it feels like it feels a lot less inclusive than it really would be. And with those kinds of streams, I would prefer that it feels more inclusive. 3 maps is a 2+ hour thing. Sometimes it isn't. I'm pretty sure when we did, like, I think it was 2 maps per person, some had 3. Just a few days ago, it took us, I think, 2 hours, but I might be remembering that wrong. So, like, I might. There's a lot of things. Like, maybe one day I might just do, like, a stream of just doing random things. Like, let's just do some hanging out in Final Fantasy XIV, just do a thing. Like, just do that. Like, I could just start a stream and be like, what should we do? And then, like, we do some maps, and then we go and, I don't know, do a couple dailies. Like, whatever. That could be a stream. I don't know. Criterion Prog for funsies. I mean, Criterion Prog could also be a stream in and of itself. Chocobo racing stream. I've done, I think, a grand total of 2 or 3 Chocobo races. I think. Something like that. And one of them was for my Gold Saucer video. I've also played a grand total of 1 Doman Mahjong, and that was also for the Gold Saucer video. And I feel like I aged 2 years in that one match. Agent Monica says, if you were to do a map stream, what would your loot rule be? FFA or map owner needs, everyone else greed? I always go with free-for-all. And I also always announce it loudly many times if I'm the host. The reason being that when there are like a bunch of rules, then people get confused and then they do it wrong. So I would always make it the simplest. You want something? You need on it. And then like you might have like specific things like, well, I mean, we're trying to get this thing, so it's only fair that you pass if you already have it, or if you already got it tonight, and things like that. And it's also that there's also the thing that almost every time I've been part of a map group where it wasn't free for all, it would be like randomly that one would be like, it's okay, you can all need when it's my maps, which just makes it even more chaotic. Or sometimes the owner just won't need on something, even though they're supposed to. Like, that's why I'm just like, there are no, like, the rules are need if you want it, because it confuses people. Sally says, on the note of why do we focus so hard on ice mages, I think it's the same reason as STDs. It's so obvious to everyone else in the party. Exactly. That's also like, the thing is, you can see immediately if a red mage is doing their rotation wrong, if a black mage is doing their rotation wrong. Arguably, you can see it if a summoner is doing their rotation wrong. You might even be able to see it if a Pixamancer is doing it wrong. You can see it if a healer is spamming their healing spell, and these things are super obvious, so we really focus on it. But genuinely, Ice Mage is like, it's a problem that is unsolvable, because the problem isn't the game at that point. That one is the player's problem. Freelancers also FFA doesn't have the I just passed the 40 million minion, hope you're happy. Yeah. Yeah, like, for the, like, I'm not joking, the ice mages I meet, there are, like, a limited list of reasons for why that could be. One of them, which was one I ran into, which became a little bit of a specific point in a Roulette video, was someone basically playing Ice Mage because they couldn't be bothered to try. Which, I've talked about this before. It's okay to suck at Final Fantasy XIV, but choosing to suck, don't do that. At least try. Others might just not know better. Like, they might have overlooked the part where fire spells do more damage. It's shocking, but it's possible. And then there are also players that get into the game that don't realize properly that no, actually, Black Mage doesn't get to choose. They're mostly a fire mage featuring ice and thunder magic. You don't get to choose. And I would say a large part of Black Mages will realize that when they try to be a wholehearted fire mage, is that they'll quickly go, wait a minute, why can't I cast anymore? And then they'll figure it out. But not all of them. There's also like things like balance mages. Those that just alternate Blizzard 3, Fire 3, because like, well, this cast time is way faster. That must mean it's good, right? Necrophit says, I had a spread shot only machinist in Titan Extreme. Not trying comes in all flavors. Exactly. But you might not you might be a lot less likely to notice that one. A way to choose would be really cool. It would, Tongue, but the problem is that at that point, you're basically asking for 3 jobs, not 1. Although, arguably, it would be nice if there was an ice-focused mage, and a fire-focused mage, and a thunder-focused mage. It is actually pretty funny. All the 4 casters, like, mages we have, cover at least 3 elements each, in addition to unaspected. And that is weird, Stinger. I've seen something similar. I remember I had a Hallminster Switch run where the Paladin, they would go, yeah, they would do 1, 2, 3s, but they would never use Holy Spirit. They would use Requiescit. They would use Fight or Flight, but as far as I could see, they would not use Goring Blade. What if Black Mage could glam their elements, so you could choose what was your DPS and what was your MP and what was your dot? The idea's interesting, Tongue, but I feel like that would make it very problematic to actually make all of the actions visually make sense. Like, it would be cool, right? It would be interesting. But I feel like we're quickly reaching a point where it's like, and while we're on it, why can't Auras be specifically bearded dragons? Like, why can't they be a specific type of lizard? Why can't Mikote be specifically tigers? Like tiger cats? Why can't Hrothgar specifically? Why can't Viera be a specific type of bunny girl? Like, at some point, it reaches a territory where we're losing, like, we're not being reasonable. It would be cool, but Lollipop Pizza says, I got a machinist that was only pressing their first button in the 1 to 3 combo in Aishia scope. No automaton queen. Once, I play a lot of machinists, so I noticed. No names on this one, but let me put it like this. in like early-ish Endwalker, a friend of mine, like, he reached the end game. To be clear, I knew him in Shadowbringers too, and he was in the end game there. He played Machinist. He wasn't, like, great at Machinist, but he wanted to get better. Like, okay, I put, like, aside an hour to teach him. And I thought we'd be like, let's go over an opener, let's go over, like, the general rotation. The thing is, I knew certain things he wasn't doing. But we ended up spending, like, most of the hour explaining to him that there's a difference between GZDs and OGZDs. After he was like, no, I basically never use Gauss round with Ricochet. It does less damage than Split Shot, so why would I? I'm sitting there like, are you serious? Have you never tried using them at the same time? He's like, you can do that? That's an option? And mind you, he had recently cleared dead ends, right? He had recently cleared... Like, he had completed the story. So, if you've ever gotten into the position of thinking, how can this player who's playing this badly complete the game? You don't need to know anything to complete Final Fantasy XIV's MSQ. Not really. There are exceptions, but for the most part, you just need to press buttons. If you're a DPS, it'll probably work out. That's an exaggeration. But yeah, I explained it to him. The funny thing is that he decided he would rather play Reaper, because that might be more his speed. And then he quit like a week later. The thing is, that's not that big of a deal, because he would like quit and come back every so often. He still does. No, Seraph, just to be clear, he wasn't arguing against changing his playstyle. He didn't know any of these things. He basically was like, he thought he was actually pretty good at the game. But he was not. And then the realization of where he was and where he was supposed to be, one could say, being so far apart, completely overwhelmed him. And then, like, he came, like, he actually, I did the Alexandria dungeon with him for his first go in Dawntrail, and he played it as Reaper. And he used this action on a single target boss fight. And I just sat there like, well, he is doing better because, you know, he's using his buttons. But how'd he do the Vinar DPS check? That's a good question. He might have done it on easy mode. And yeah, exactly. Better that he's pressing something. As long as he's using his buttons, it's going pretty far. That's a huge point in that video I put out recently. It's a 0.1% DPS loss is just press your buttons, and then we'll work on the order later. But if you're not even pressing anything aside from 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be really hard to get anywhere else. Yeah, there is an easy mode. basically, Caitlin, if you fail an MSQ solo duty, when you retry, it will offer you like in addition to the normal difficulty, they will offer you an easy and sometimes a very easy version, where they like make it easier for you, of course. I heard that there was this bug with some of them early on, that sometimes the easy mode would actually be harder than normal, which is funny. Anyway, on that note, we got, we didn't get as many duties done as we usually do on these, but we got, was it 4 extremes? Which I'd say that's pretty good. That's a pretty good haul. That's going to be interesting. We even had some wipes. That's usually even more interesting. But with that said, if you enjoyed this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm this is an enjoyable stream and you'd like other people to enjoy it as well. So thanks so much in advance. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link right there in the chat. There you will find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days. I usually updated Sunday and Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links and links to videos and streams. I usually post them right when they go up, as well as around 15 minutes before stream starts. And if you grab the reminder roll in the role assignments room, I'm getting a little confused. In the role assignments room, you'll get a notification whenever I post these things, and that includes the 15 minutes warning when a stream is incoming. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member of the channel, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat system, or if you don't like any of that, there's a Ko-Fi link right there in the chat that Ariel posted. It all helps support me and the channel directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you. So thanks so much for the support. But that'll be all from me tonight, so good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world. I hope to see you all very soon. Bye bye!